From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Ticats This Week with RJ Broadhead and Luke Tasker.
It's amazing what a difference two games can make. The Edmonton game was pretty tough to take, and the BC game was the best of the season. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us on Ticats This Week as we get set for the Labor Day Classic. I'm RJ Broadhead. He's Luke Tasker, and how about that, Luke? Going into BC, a team that hadn't lost at home. They've been averaging less than 10 points against, and the Tiger Cats go in there and win 30-13, and had to be, at least in my opinion, the best game the Tiger Cats have played this season, at least the best all-around game. What did you think?
Yeah, they played very well in Edmonton, but Edmonton was a team that's struggling. To go out to BC and to play a team that was 7-3 and playing very well, it was unbelievable. It's one of those games where it kind of felt like the only people who really, really thought that it might go for the Tiger Cats was the Tiger Cats, was Orlando Steinauer and his crew, and they believed, and they came out firing, good energy, and they didn't let up the whole game.
Yeah, and I give Coach O and all the players and everybody a lot of credit because there were some ankles breaking, jumping off the bandwagon after that Edmonton game. So to stay with it, and they all said, hey, we're close. We're a better team than that. We're close. And they went into BC and proved it. That was a fun game to watch. It was a fun game to listen to. It was a fun game to call. Everything just went really, even the uniform scheme was pretty cool with the Tiger Cats in all white and BC in all black. It was just a lot of fun, and a win is fun. And looking at the schedule and the results, the Tiger Cats in their last 7 games are 4-3. 4-6 overall, but they had that 0-3 start. So being above 500 in their last 7 games is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're mixed into that, though, is that unfortunate Edmonton loss, which was sort of the low point of the season. And like you mentioned right off the top, it's followed immediately by what is currently stands as outrightly the high point of the season as you go into Labor Day Classic. One of the most encouraging things to me in BC is that's not a team that was going to roll over, right? They play well at home. The BC Lions, they have won games. They've been in shootouts. Vernon Adams is big playmaker. But the Ticats took the lead from the start. Firstly, they never gave up the lead. But secondly, as the Lions climbed back into that game, they actually got it to a 4-point game at one point. And so you think, well, shoot, they're a touchdown out of the lead. They're a good team. They're going to score touchdowns. It kind of felt like the game was right in the balance there for a second. And what do the Ticats do? They answer it up with a touchdown drive. And it was, it's really to take the 11-point lead, which was their largest of the game at that point. And it was really like, wow, they're answering the call. It's not a one-off that they just started the game hot, but they can't finish. No, they carried it through the whole game, kept the momentum, and then built on that lead after there. It was all around a great win and very impressive.
Yeah, it really was. And, with the struggles they've had, it's been easy to talk about some negative things, but this is fun to talk about positives. Going through a few stats, and jump in if there's something that sticks out to you here, Luke. That 30 points was the third most they've scored this season. The 13 points they allowed was tied for second fewest this season. First time not against Ottawa. So both games against Ottawa, they kept them in at low points against. You mentioned it. First time they never trailed in a game this year. 10 points at halftime that they scored. That was the second most they've scored at halftime this season. The 3 points they allowed at the half were the fewest, or tied for the fewest. I never lost a quarter in this game. They scored a touchdown in 3 straight quarters. Third time scoring more touchdowns than their opponents. And all 3 have been wins. So that's a bit of a telling stat, too. You don't have to be a mathematician or a scientist to figure that out. If you score more touchdowns than your opponents, you get a pretty good chance. But you have to do it. The results have to be there.
And you know what else is interesting? At the top of some of those stat categories going into BC, it was very lopsided. For instance, defensively, points allowed for your opponent. The Ticats defense was at the bottom of the league in points allowed, touchdowns allowed. The BC Lions were at the top. They were letting their opponent score the fewest touchdowns per game. I mean, there was some, and that was not the only one. There were some categories where you look and you find the Tiger Cats and the Lions at totally different ends of the same stat category, and it makes you think, wow, you've got a lopsided matchup here, and they overcame it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the turnovers were a big statistical category. First time this season, Ticats didn't turn the ball over, and 3 takeaways. And you think of those 3 takeaways the Tiger Cats had, they were massive. Yes. Very first drive, stopping BC on a 3rd and short. I talked to Simone Lawrence yesterday, and he said, hey, that sets the tone, because that tells you what they think of us as a defense, going for that on the very first drive. So he said that was massive. And then the 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter takeaways in the fourth quarter that the Tiger Cats turned into field goals to turn it from a 2-score game to a 3-score game with about 4 minutes to go. It didn't make it comfortable, but it did make it more realistic that this victory could actually happen. So those turnovers or takeaways were all very key.
Yeah, and that interception, Jameer Thurman gets the interception, and that was on a 3rd and 10 that they were going for. So you're thinking, wow, hopefully you're hoping for a turnover on downs. Hopefully you get an incomplete pass or whatever. And no, they just went for the old fashioned turnover, the interception, sure. and that set a statement too. I thought the Ticats defense was of a different kind out in BC.
And the rushing was a big story as well with the Tiger Cats. James Butler, amazing again, 2nd straight game where he's been over 100 yards. So with Scott Milanovic in there seems to be something going with James Butler, because he had one 100-yard rushing game prior to Milanovic coming in. Now he's got back-to-back. And the defense of the Tiger Cats only allowed 54 yards rushing, which is by far their season lowest. So that was really lopsided as well, and a big key in the Tiger Cats win, and something they'll have to do against the Argos as well. Yeah,
they're going into a Labor Day Classic with a very strong running against a very strong running offense with the Argonauts, and well, the Argonauts happen to have a very good passing offense too. So it's a good time for the Ticat defense to be peaking after that game in BC and to get ready for this matchup.
It was so Labor Day is always the big one, and Tiger Cats coming off a huge win against BC. If they make it back-to-back wins, beating BC and Toronto, that all of a sudden, I think, changes the perspective of what the Tiger Cats are this season. All of a sudden, I think that makes them a Grey Cup contender if they can beat those 2 teams and really build off it. This could be the turning point of the season right in the second half. They're 1-0 in the second half of the season.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I mean, it's very CFL, and I love it. And but a win against Toronto, a win against BC, followed by a win against Toronto would change everything. It would certainly change the look of the East, or the dynamic of the East. The Ticats have not played well against Montreal this year, and that's sort of a concern for Ticat fans. Ottawa, they have played well, but Ottawa's right in the mix there too. But it's hard if you're struggling against 2 of your divisional opponents, meaning Montreal and Toronto. That makes the playoff picture look very, very challenging. But if they get a win against Toronto in this game, that is a very, very big game. They're going to be set to make their way into the playoffs and beyond. Of course, they'll be left with one of the top 3 teams that they haven't beat, which is Winnipeg, and they'll have another chance at that as well. But you never know, man. Momentum's a real thing in the season, and I don't know why it is, but the Ticats just catch some energy in the second half of the season. It's like the Ticat way, at least for the last decade, and it is it's real. Like it's not just that. It's not just that the rest of the team start playing bad or something. I remember seasons where you look back at the end of October to those games you were playing in July, and it doesn't even seem like the same team. It doesn't even, you don't know why you were losing those games. All you know is that you can win games now. And so It seems like they're catching a spell of that here, and that would be verified if this Labor Day Classic goes the way that Hamilton fans want it to go.
Luke, I'm wondering if you noticed this as well. I've been watching the schedule, and the last 2 weeks really couldn't have gone any better for the Tiger Cats. Maybe the only thing that could have changed is them beating Edmonton. But when they lost to Edmonton, every team they needed to lose lost. And that includes Ottawa and Calgary, each losing by a point 2 weeks ago, which is really rare and lucky for the Tiger Cats. And then this past week, it was all East versus West matchups. The only two East teams to win were Hamilton and Toronto. And Toronto's so far ahead in the East Division, they might as well go ahead but the team they beat was important. It was Calgary. So all the teams the Tiger Cats have needed to lose or stay behind them have stayed behind, even though they've had an opportunity to pass the Tiger Cats when they were struggling. And then that big win against BC, it's just interesting. It always makes me think down the road when we're in October and the playoffs are on the horizon to look back at August and say, you know what? That was where things kind of went right for the Tiger Cats. They got some help from other teams, and then they finally gelled as a team. It'll be interesting to look back, and hopefully we can look back and say, hey, that's when it happened, mid-August. These last couple of weeks of August, things really started to go well for the Tiger Cats because it was a down moment when they lost to Edmonton, but nobody got in front of them because the teams that had to stay behind stayed behind. Yeah. So it's just interesting how it happens, and maybe that's a sign that good things are coming.
I think so. It is, and honestly, it kind of gives me a little bit of a flashback or a nightmare back to early part of last season, 2022. Where like the Ticats were really struggling to find their first win, struggling to keep winning, but it was like, it's okay. Everybody's losing. So
yeah. Remember, that is true.
Remember, we were just sitting here kind of thinking, 0-4 I think was the start, but the East has won like 2 games total, so like we'll just stay the course. And of course they did end up making the playoffs, but Toronto was one of the teams struggling who ended up being Grey Cup champions, and it's just interesting the inner workings of a 9-team league as the season progresses, and things can flip-flop pretty quickly if a given team hits a winning streak or hits a losing streak. And if Hamilton does that while some of these other mid-level teams who are trying to battle for that second and third spot in the East, if that continues if some of those continue to lose, then you just never know. I mean, it's that interesting and sort of touchy of a playoff picture.
Yeah, you've been in the locker room, and a lot of players, people listening, have played sports, and they know the different dynamics. But we talked to a few players this week, and talked to Taylor Powell, and he basically talked about Labor Day, and he basically said he doesn't put a game on a pedestal. They're not too big, not too low. Every game's tries to keep it even keel. Then talked to Simone Lawrence and Labor Day Classic. This is it. This is, he gets so pumped for it. He's excited. He's got the big smile going. He wants the fans to be loud and enjoy themselves and wants to put on a performance. And we talked to Jameer Thurman, and he's like, hey, we played great against BC, but we can be a lot better. We got to be better. So, 3 different perspectives, and it's pretty interesting. And you can understand all of them. You want to be excited for Labor Day, but some guys don't want to make it too high. And then you got a pro like Jameer Thurman, who's probably there'll never be a perfect game for a guy like that who loves to win and wants 0 mistakes, but 0 mistakes is pretty much impossible. There's always room for improvement. So it was pretty fun to see the 3 different perspectives, and you would have witnessed a lot of that and in the locker room and how to deal with different attitudes going into games.
Well, and I'll give you 2 more perspectives, or maybe 3, including mine. But when I talked to Coach O on the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker this week, he referenced getting ejected from a game. He didn't remember if it was a Labor Day Classic game, but and I believe that was when he was with Toronto actually, but playing in Hamilton. He referenced a 31-31 tie that where there was multiple ejections from the game. We talked with Eric Harris, who Ticat fans will be excited to see this week as the alumnus of distinction. But we did a show, Task and Twos. Andy and I did a episode talking with Eric Harris as he's down in his building a new house down in Florida, and he referenced a game. Well, firstly, my first Labor Day Classic 2014 was also his, and it was like 5,000 degrees on the field, and we were wearing the old like a steel gray uniform that was sort of the alternate for that season. It was really a cool look. And we beat Toronto for that first game at Tim Hortons Field. Eric Harris was on the field there, and he remembers jumping up to bat a ball down and getting flipped, like helicoptered over, landing in the offensive backfield. It's just everyone can think through it. It is a normal game in the standings, but I remember them more than other games. I mean, it is a very, very exciting moment in the season, and so Taylor Powell, hasn't been up here very long. He'll get a sense for it. I mean, he'll remember it as well. And Simone, of course, is probably going into, I don't know, this must be his 10th or maybe it'd be his 9th Labor Day Classic, but he has a good feel for it naturally.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, so you brought up a couple of interesting things. First of all, Tiger Cats will be wearing their Made in the Hammer uniforms, so if you're going to be at Tim Hortons Field, it'll be those steel gray, beautiful uniforms the Tiger Cats will be wearing against the Argonauts on the Labor Day Classic. Simone Lawrence, I had to go back. Remember, he was hurt last year. He missed the Labor Day Classic. So This has been building for 2 years for Simone, so he's going to be fired up. He told me he's got over 40 family members coming to the game. I think all on his dime, too. So he's in it for a lot of tickets for that one. But he also said Ticats don't lose on Labor Day when he's playing. So he wasn't there last year. So he's back. So we'll see if he can keep that streak going. It'll be tough. Argos are a very good team. And beat the Tiger Cats twice this season pretty handily, 32-14 and 31-15. So Tiger Cats putting up 30 points up against BC. They can't go in with any bigger momentum. When you're looking at this matchup, Luke, if we were talking after the Edmonton game, it probably wouldn't be as positive. But after this BC game, going in against the Argos, I'm feeling pretty good about the Tiger Cats' chances. How about you?
Yeah, they've got to continue some of those positive stat lines from BC. Here's what I'm focused on for the offense. Can you continue to get first downs? Can you stay on the field? If you load up that first half with 2 and outs, if we see Vedvik have to kick the ball, 4, 5, 6 times in the first half, Chad Kelly's going to have too much time. That Toronto offense, if you give them enough chances, they're going to score touchdowns. But if you can limit the amount of drives they have and the amount of chances they get, and if you can keep your offense on the field, in BC, I was really, really impressed with some of the difficult second downs that the Ticats converted. At one point, I think it was maybe at halftime, they had converted 8 of 11 of their second down opportunities. That's a high percentage. You're not going to that if you kept that going the whole season, you would be outrightly the best second down team in the league. If they can keep their drives going, push their way down to the end zone, and BC they were able to finish in the end zone as well. But I just want to see that Ticat offense establish some control over the Labor Day Classic. Control of the clock, ability to give their playmakers chances in the end zone. Part of that, too, is James Butler. When your run game is on like that, I remember playing. I can remember back to playing Calgary in the years when John Cornish was there. When they had a running attack that was just better than anyone else's in the league, you'd be sitting on the sidelines as the opposing offense, and you'd look at the game clock, and then you'd look back, and like 8 minutes of game had disappeared, and you're like, I don't even know where my helmet is right now. Like, what's going on? I can't. Like, you have no ability to affect the game, and so if you can sort of force that, force Chad Kelly and that offensive team into that situation where they're like, man, we need another chance, and then they go out there, and the Ticat defense has rest, has an ability to stop that momentum and stop the rhythm of the Argonaut offense. It rolls. It starts to build on itself, and so Scott Milanovic and Taylor Powell, we'll see. And so I am just so impressed with Taylor Powell's ball security. Not throwing interceptions, and now he's pushing the ball down the field well as well. So if you that's sort of a given. You almost can't flirt with that one. You've got to maintain the ball security. But if you can also then string these first downs together, I think the Ticats have a legitimately good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, great stuff there, Luke. Funny you can't find your helmet because you've been on the sideline so long. Did I even bring it out? But time of possession was a big factor. 36 minutes and 27 seconds. The Tiger Cats had the ball. They had that 12-play drive. Had 60% of the time they had the football, so it makes it tough for the other team to score. And Taylor Powell, good decisions, and he told us this week that that's kind of how he wants to be, but he's just playing his game. He's very, very calm, and about the sacks. We asked him if, it's you don't want to make a bad decision and a bad throw. And he said, no, it's more I'm not getting the ball out. It's not the offensive line. It's on me. It's a progression as a professional quarterback. So we did see, even though the completion percentage was similar from the Edmonton to the BC game, just the quality of the passes just seemed to be better against BC. So to see a young quarterback who's 24, will turn 25 in October, getting his really first taste of professional football and see that progression develop, it's pretty exciting to see what Taylor Powell is now, and you can kind of vision what he's going to be in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, and I like that the guy can trust the process and understand that. Yeah, you play a part in letting up sacks as well. He did much better at that in BC, including, like we discussed in the broadcast and in the post game. Yeah, the BC game started with an offensive sack, or I should say, it started the offensive attack for the Ticats started with a sack on first down back in their own end. After coming, and that was all as we talked about coming out of the game against Edmonton, where they had 7 sacks. So you think, man, how are we going to fix this problem? And they ended up doing that. And on your point to completion percentage and sort of the passing attack, there was some really impressive second down conversions in the passing game. Yes, James Butler kind of carried that offensive attack and did an unbelievable job, but Taylor Powell found some guys on some difficult second downs. Really loved Terry Godwin's catch on what was a 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11 as he wrapped the Will linebacker and came back into the under coverage. It's a really great CFL route running. It's a very important part of your offense to have. And Duke Williams with some good ones. Tim White in the second half got going, and Sean Thomas Erlington had a big first down. So spreading the ball around and making it happen on those second downs, and that is what you got to do it against Toronto.
And got to do it at home. Tiger Cats have more wins on the road than they do at home. They're 1-4 at Tim Hortons Field. So one more loss means they'll finish below 500 at home no matter what. First time since 2018 that would have happened, but they've only scored 4 touchdowns in 5 games at home. They have to find a way to win at Tim Hortons Field. Have you been able to see anything that's been different with the team at home compared to on the road?
It's really hard. For some reason, I will say,
I like to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, opposing teams. I think
tough questions, Luke.
you are one heck of a journalist, especially on Ticats this week. I think opposing teams have. I don't think you're seeing teams come into Tim Hortons and struggle. I mean, I think teams are playing pretty well. It's not like it's all just the Ticats, inability to make their plays. I mean, you saw Montreal come here, and I thought Montreal looked like a very, very good team here at Tim Hortons Field. We'll see. I don't want to put too much onus on it as well, and I'm not willing to say to give away the home field advantage, saying that the Ticats, that something is actually like objectively better for them on the road. I think it's just a matter of the sort of stars aligning, their preparation being tight and everything being good here. And you think back to the Edmonton game, it was Scott Milanovic's first game as the play caller, still sort of struggling there as they came out of that bye week with just establishing rhythm in the first part of that season, and so things are going to naturally progress in a good direction, as they sort of get some more cohesiveness, at least on offense too. So, no better time than now. I think the home field advantage is still real for the Ticats, and especially on Labor Day, there's going to be a great excitement.
Well, Luke and I will be at the game. We've got our tickets. If you don't have your tickets and you can make it to Tim Hortons Field, go to ticats.ca/tickets. Get your tickets. It is a fun time. Get to the stadium early. There's tons of stuff going on prior to the game, and then the game is always one of the best of the season. And after that Tiger Cats win against the Lions, there's a lot of optimism, and it's a chance to make a statement against the Toronto Argonauts. What's your gut telling you about this game, Luke?
The Ticats have every ability to win it, and I think they're going to do it. I think that I think we're watching the Ticats offense find its identity. I think they're going to be a team in the second half of the season that is right at the top of the league in fewest giveaways. And they're starting to be able to really control or have first down and second down efficiency too. And so very excited. And I think the CFL, like you mentioned, looking back at August, I think we're going to look back at Labor Day as well and say, wow, that the team had found itself by the Labor Day Classic.
And maybe Chad Kelly will be so busy counting his money this week that he won't focus on the game.
Oh man, maybe. I don't know if we can count on that as a sure thing, but possibly, yeah.
Well, it's a nice extension he got by the Argos, and he's definitely earned that. He's had a great first season as their starting quarterback, and it'll be up to the Tiger Cats to figure out a way to try to stop him on Labor Day and get the offense going and get into the end zone and keep that crowd loud at Tim Hortons Field. We always look forward to the Labor Day Classic, Luke. Can't wait to see you at Tim Hortons Field, and I'm sure you'll be shaking some hands and see a lot of familiar faces.
Can't wait. What a great day in Hamilton it's going to be. I'll see you Monday.
All right, you can always tune into the game on the Ticats Audio Network. Luke and I will have the call, and the pregame starts at 2 o'clock. Thanks for listening to Ticats This Week. Can't wait for the Labor Day Classic.
It's been another busy week for your Hamilton Tiger Cats. Luke Tasker and RJ Broadhead have covered it all, and now we would like to hear from you. Email us anytime at gameday@ticats.ca. Subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.